Oblique pictorials. So far in this class, we have discussed isometric when we were doing sketches, and we've discussed orthographics at the beginning, right? Isometrics was a three-view drawing, or a three-dimensional drawing. Orthographic was our front, top, side, what we just finished here. Today we're going to talk about our third drawing style, which is an oblique, or an oblique pictorial. Okay, it's also a three-dimensional drawing, but it's different than either of the other two that we've talked about so far. And there are two different types of obliques. There's a cabinet oblique and a Cavalier oblique. We're going to talk about both today and do some examples. So an oblique projection, the front view is drawn straight on, just like it would be in an orthographic projection, which is different than an isometric, where like a front is drawn at an angle towards the left, and our side is typically drawn at an angle towards the right. Here, in an oblique, the front view is drawn straight on. Okay, then our side view is drawn at an angle, and typically and technically, both 30 degrees and 45-degree angles are acceptable. You would just pick one at the beginning of your drawing and stick to it for the entirety of the drawing. However, due to the fact that we're using graph paper this year, we cannot really accurately measure 30 degrees. So all of our oblique projections this year are going to be drawn at 45 degrees. So again, there are two separate types of oblique projections. The first type of oblique projection is what's called a cabinet oblique, while the second type is called a Cavalier oblique. In this case, both of these are oblique drawings. They both have a straight-on front view. Both have a side view that is drawn at either 30 or 45 degrees. Okay, so they all reference all of this stuff right here. However, a Cavalier oblique has a full-sized side view. The side view does not change. It's just full size. Okay, while a cabinet oblique has a half-sized side view, or a half-scale side view. Okay, so those are the main differences. And the reason, again, why I flipped through this like one so quick here is because it's just saying the stuff that's in the last slide. Both are straight on, both have their sides projected back. But a Cavalier is a full-size projection, while a cabinet is a half-scale projection. Okay, and I'll give you a few seconds to write this down, and we'll talk about these a little more. Okay, so Cavalier, again, is a full depth. Cavalier drawings come from the French the French army, cavalry. Can never say that word. But a Cavalier drawing used to be used to draw this style, was used to draw French forts. Okay, and the advantage to a Cavalier drawing is that you can actually measure the side and use it within a scaled drawing. Okay, so you can actually build something like a fort from a Cavalier oblique drawing. The problem with Cavalier oblique drawings is they look awful. They are like the worst drawing to look at, because as something is angled away from us, it looks smaller due to like the fact that it's tilted, and also due to the fact that the back of the drawing is getting further away from us. But basically at 45 degrees, a drawing should be like half as deep to make it look right. Okay, so cabinet makers later changed this a little bit and made this cabinet oblique, which again, it comes from cabinet makers. And it was for showing clients like the furniture that they were building for them. And instead of being full depth, they're half depth, which look a lot better. So a Cavalier Oblique, its advantage is that it can be scaled and it is true to size, but it looks like garbage. The Cabinet Oblique, its advantage is that it looks good to the eye, but you can't really measure it because like the front is at a different scale than the sides. So it's not ideal for like actually building from. To actually build from things, though, you typically are going to use an orthographic projection. This is just a pictorial drawing. It's just meant to like make you visualize what it looks like quickly. So some rules of thumb to follow when going through this process. The first rule of thumb is the irregular face is going to be your front. Make your most complicated face the front. It'll make things easier on you. Draw. Pardon me. Draw construction lines for your outline. That's true of all drawings. Draw your front view first. Then you're going to project your sides back. And then you're going to clean up your lines. Okay. A couple seconds here on this. Then we're going to get started on our drawing. Yes. Yes. Rulers. Basically, sketching is done by hand, and then everything else is using drawing tools. Yeah, we're going to be using rulers today. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to do today. Again, it's going to be a two-part thing today. We're going to do something together, and then you guys are going to start something on your own. So the thing that we're going to start together is basically the same thing, honestly, that's in our notes. We're going to do this L block. Okay, we're going to draw the L block in a Cavalier and a cabinet style. So I drew this L block up in Inventor last week. I have labeled the colors and the size. I've also labeled the type of drawing. So again, we started off with an isometric drawing, a three-dimensional drawing where the front view is drawn at an angle to the left, the right view is drawn at an angle to the right, and then the top view is on top of that, right? We've also talked about orthographic drawings where we see the front, the top, and the right side. Today we're talking about obliques. It doesn't look like either of these drawings exactly. So again, the thing that you're going to be drawing for me will be different than what's here. And that's true really for everything. Like we've been drawing orthographics and you've been looking at isometrics. As we move into 3D drawings, you're going to see and read a lot of orthographics, and then have to produce three-dimensional drawings from those orthographics. So when we look at this, this object is 3 inches tall 2 inches long and it's 1 inch deep. You need to find your depth in the side or the top view to determine how far back your object goes. Okay. We're going to draw this object in Cavalier Oblique and Cabinet Oblique. All dimensions should be accurate. We're also going to label which one is which. So in the end, where's my zoom stuff? In the end, here I'm going to stop my video and turn on my desktop video. You guys need a ruler, a pencil, and graph paper. Okay. In the end here, we're going to have a drawing that looks like this. Okay, and again, 3.9 is due today. Okay, so we're all working on this together at this exact moment. We're going to be drawing the same object in a Cavalier Oblique and a Cabinet Oblique. They're both going to be accurate sizes, and they're going to be labeled with lettering underneath which one is which, and then this will get turned into. So let's begin this. Another piece of paper. Nope. All right, new piece of paper. So we're going to do this drawing today in landscape, ladies and gentlemen. So it should be wider than it is tall in landscape orientation. And let's just start up like a couple inches up, couple inches over. Give yourself, good 6 to 8 blocks on either side. You don't have any sort of sizing concerns with this. There's plenty of space. So come on up. And again, when we look at this object, right, we need to draw the front view of the object. So when we look over here at the front view is 3 inches tall. And from the left side to the right side, according to the top, it is 2 inches long. Each leg is 1 inch across. So again, pull out your ruler. Starting at 0, go to 2 inches, draw a line. Go up 3 inches. And again, each leg is 1 inch. Okay, so our L should look something like that. Nice straight lines, 3 inches tall, 2 inches long, inch legs. Ugh. Get another like 30 seconds here. Okay. Talk about a little geometry real quick, because this is going to be important to our lesson today. If I have a triangle, and honestly, like the sizes are not that important. If this leg and this leg are the same, this is 90 degrees, and that means both of these are 45 degrees, right? Which is the same angle that we're projecting our drawing back at, 45 degrees. So here's my question for you. If this leg is equal to 2 inches and this leg is equal to 2 inches, is this part of the triangle greater than 2 inches, equal to 2 inches, or less than 2 inches? Greater than. Does anybody else have a different answer? Yes, good job, Bobby. The answer is greater than 2 inches because the hypotenuse of a triangle is always the longest side of a triangle. So if I actually were to measure the hypotenuse of this triangle, I am roughly 2 3/4 of an inch long, right? And that goes back to like a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. 2 squared plus 2 squared is equal to this. 4 plus 4 is 8, which is equal to c squared. The square root of 8, I don't know. It's roughly 2.75. Okay, which again is the length of this line here. Because of that, ladies and gentlemen, and something that's really important, you cannot count boxes when you're projecting your depth. Okay, Abby? Don't count boxes when you project your depth. You have to measure depth lines with your ruler. But before we can measure our depth lines, the first thing we need to do is know what angle to draw our lines at, okay? And you could line your ruler up so that it lines up with the corner, but honestly, I find that even for myself, that's pretty confusing. The easiest way that I find to get the right angle, again, because if we go over 1 and up 1, over, let's just say over 2 and up 2, and we go to draw this triangle here roughly. This is a 90-degree, so that makes us 45 and 45 because the legs are the same length. So when we go to measure our angles, you're just going to measure the corners, or you're going to count corners. We're going to count 6 corners. I'm going to go 1 corner, right? So I'm going diagonally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's basically the same thing as counting over 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same thing. And that's going to produce a 45-degree line ultimately. Okay? We need to do that from this corner, this corner, this corner, this corner, and that corner. Okay? Every corner actually except for this one here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I'm going to make my points. These points are ultimately going to get erased, so they should be somewhat light. Well, honestly, this graph paper is very forgiving in the way, well, actually, your graph paper is different than mine, I guess. So that doesn't matter. Okay, so again, we're counting 6 boxes diagonally from each point. Is anybody having any problems with that step? Okay, so all right, let's talk about the next thing here real quick. I want everyone to stop what you're doing and take a look at what I'm doing here for a second. These dots that we just drew, this is our angular dimension, okay? It's 45 degrees between this corner here and that dot there. It is not the length. It's not the length. It's way too long to be the length. So what we're going to do here, just take your pencil, please, put it on the dot, and move your ruler in and line the other end of your ruler up so that it's just below the corner, so your pencil will touch the corner, and line it up so that it's on 0 there at the corner. Okay, and then pick up your pencil and move it to the 1, and just draw between the 1 and the corner your diagonal line. It should be going through the corners of the box to give us that 45 degrees. And we're going to do the same thing to the neck. I just like to put my pencil on this dot because it gives me like a pivot point to rotate my ruler around and like get it lined up properly. Then again, I come back to 1 and I draw this in here. And then I do the same thing in the corner. Do the same thing in this corner here. Okay, so what we're doing here, again, by specifically measuring to 1 inch, we're getting the depth of our object because our object is 1 inch deep. All right, and then from the back end of those 1 inch lines, you should be able to just measure up and over, and then up and over. Or, just draw your lines. Okay. So underneath this, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to write Cavalier Oblique, and we're going to letter that thing, and it's going to be 1 box high. Cavalier, that's not even spelled right there. It is C-A-V-A-L, here we go, C-A-V-A-L-I-E-R. Okay, so when we come in here, we're going to letter 1 block high. Cavalier. Cavalier Oblique. And you should erase your dots when you're done with them. Okay, your angle dots are just temporary to get your angle right. Nothing more. So they can get erased. Okay, let's talk about the cabinet oblique for a second. Stop what you're doing. Let's take a quick peek here. Cabinet starts the same way. We have a 3x2 front face. Nothing changes there. Okay, and again, when we look at this thing, this object is 1 inch deep. It says it in the side. Sometimes it might say it in the top, what its depth is. It's 1 inch deep. And because this is a half scale depth, the depth of this one will only go back 1/2 of an inch. We're still going to count those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes. But instead now of drawing to 1 inch, we're just going to draw to 1/2 of an inch. Again, you cannot count your boxes. Don't count your boxes. You got to measure. The boxes will lie to you. Like this is just a little over 1 box basically here. And then we would do the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down here. Come on. Yeah, still 6. Like coming back, I still count 6 boxes back. Right? But again, that's just my angle, and then I measure. It only comes back at 1/2 an inch back. But the six boxes, again, the further you get away, the more accurate your angle becomes. It's not. That's just the angle, Abby. You find your angle, and then you only measure back your distance, 1. Right? The 6 boxes just gets our angle in the right 45-degree orientation, but then you have to measure your depth. Okay, and then you just erase those dots afterwards. Those dots are just layout lines, construction lines. Okay, the depth is 1 inch. The depth is 1/2 of an inch. And again, we erase those dots when we're done. Again, the dots just make sure, right? Like as your lines get drawn, they should be going through the corners of the boxes. That means that they're at 45 degrees. But again, we cannot count boxes to get the length because the length of the line is longer because it's the hypotenuse of the triangle. It's like here's a little triangle here, and although this is like 1 block this way and 1 block this way, it's actually instead of 1/4 of an inch, it's more like 3/8 of an inch going in this direction. Okay. I'm going to leave this up for a little bit here, but I want to talk to you guys about the next drawing because I imagine that at least a few of you are ready to move on. I want to give you the opportunity. Oops, not the right button. So 3.10 again is going to be due tomorrow. And 3.10 looks like this. You guys should stop working for just a second and take a quick peek at this so you know where you're at. Okay. We're going to be drawing number 3 and number 4 from this sheet here. It says so in classroom. Caleb, just 1 second, please. 3 and 4. 3 is going to be Cavalier. 4 is going to be cabinet. When we look at these drawings here again, 3 and 4, this is what you're drawing today. This is going to be in Cavalier. This is going to be in cabinet. You have your heights from here to here. You have your width or length from here to here, and you have your depth from here to here. I would probably suggest that you draw these on 2 separate pieces of paper. You can measure down 6 inches and fit them both on the same one, but again, 2 pieces is easier. Cavalier, again, is going to be full depth, 3 inches coming back. Cabinet is going to be half depth. It's only going to be 3/4 of an inch coming back. So when you guys go to draw these things, once again, you're going to label them. And this part, which is 3.10, this is due tomorrow. Okay, that part's due tomorrow. Okay, so we're working on those 2 next. So I'm going to leave this up for right now. When you're done with this, you should snap a picture of it. You should throw it into 3.9. Because 3.9 is due by the end of class. Make sure that you letter Cavalier Oblique and Cabinet Oblique on the bottom. Any questions? Avi, you understand what I mean now by like the depth and how it's different? Again, just for other people too, it's really that measurement that matters. Okay.